Then to go off on Larvesta here with your visuals as well. Can I please point out that although I understand the theme that you're trying to go for here, but the zoomed in picture makes this look too blurry and the angle makes it very painful to look at as your Larvesta avatar clearly showing different angles, then you have your computer showing clearly with an angle that makes next to no sense. Actually,
yeah, you know what? This house could honestly use a redesign. Guess I'll call the renovators and get a makeover. Oh, okay. It'll be ready in a few months. And you prepared a shelter for me to rest in while I wait for my new house? Okay, got it. Oh, you're giving away free commentary material as a bonus? Sweet, I'll see what I can make out of this. Alright, talk to you later. Okay then, time to wait for my brand new house. Hey, I didn't even have time to pack up my stuff! Okay then, guess I'll just make myself comfy then. Oh, this must be the commentary material they were talking about. Guess I'll give this a little whirl.
One eternity later.
What? Oh yeah, the video. Let's just get this show on the road. Alright, so context for those of you unaware. Some guy called Gogu Ketchum did a countdown going over his top 10 least favorite Cartoon Network shows. It was really bad, to put it lightly. I was originally going to hit that video for myself, but then comes Sean Sampson to beat me to the punch and do a commentary on that. And if you couldn't already tell by now, he done goofed it up. So here I am to teach this guy a lesson and debunk his mess of a video once and for all. Time to ignite my flames! Aren't run-on sentences the best? Like, Sean, couldn't you have organized this opening a lot better? As it stands, this opening sentence looks really awkward and weird, given that you're going off on several details that could have been separated into their own sentences. Personally, how I would have sorted this opening is, note, some of the audio here was recorded back in February. This is because I didn't get the chance to finish this video back then, as I got grounded on February 22nd. While I'm not fully ungrounded yet, I'm at least able to be on my electronics while nobody else is home. So, yeah. Enjoy the video. See how that's much better organized and easier to follow? This is taking out how pointless this opening sentence even is in the first place, considering the time you recorded your voices should not be of issue to anyone seeing your video, considering the only noticeable difference is that some of the sound files will sound slightly different. If, on the off chance someone did bring this up, you could have brought this up in a comment with them instead of showing it in bright white text on a blue background in the opening of your video. Mr. Double S. Sean Sampson, let me ask you this in the most tame manner that I can. What was the point of playing the entire video you're covering right before you started your commentary? Considering your target's video goes well past the 1 minute mark, even with you speeding his video up, all that does is make your video needlessly drag out in tedium. On top of that, let's examine the text you placed on screen that makes the colorblind people scream in agony to see why your reasoning for this structuring is actual garbo. Speeding up this video because I'm going to interject my points against it at the end of this video I sped up so that way points if this was a full-length commentary won't feel too short and so I wouldn't sound redundant. First off, more run-on sentences! Yay! Secondly, isn't this video supposed to be a one-shot? Granted, this video didn't turn out to be a one-shot as I'll explain later in the video, but if this video is supposed to be a one-shot, why would you be worried about the video becoming a full-length commentary that winds up becoming too short? And finally, you don't want to come off as redundant in this video. Oh boy, is this going to come back to bite you hard later in the video. Look, if you want to show context, either speed up the footage so that it's not incoherent or doesn't drag out for too long, or just simply play parts of the video in the order that you wish to cover them. That way, your video won't drag out needlessly or come off as confusingly structured.
Ultimate Psycho Crusher!
First, his number 10 spot, which is Johnny Test. Seriously, people are still complaining about this show, especially 3 years after its cancellation? We get it, guys. Johnny Test is one of the most obnoxious and unoriginal shows that has ever existed.
So because Goku put a widely hated show on his list, he automatically gets a strike for it? Sean, can you not outlaw what Goku can and cannot put onto his list? Yeah, Goku doesn't really go into detail on what he doesn't like about the show aside from calling it a Dexter's Lab ripoff, but dead topic or not, Johnny Test is qualified for Sean's countdown as it is a Cartoon Network show. Also, hashtag Black Borders Matter. What do you say to that, Halo fan?
Rips off Dexter's Lab with the concept of the show and Susan and Mary and Bling Bling Boy on how they resemble Dexter and Mandart's rivalry, how Johnny is like Bart Simpson, how Dookie is like Scooby-Doo mixed with Brian Griffin.
Drag.
And did this guy bring anything new to the table? Of course not. In fact, he barely brought up any reasons against the show at all, other than the fact that it's a ripoff of Dexter's Laboratory and that the show is awful. I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying this.
Everything about this show is awful. I can't believe I used to watch this show when I was little. I regret watching this awful show. It's just a ripoff of Dexter's Laboratory. Yeah, this show is awful. Yeah.
Oh, so you can just show small clips that just hide your problematic area. Well, drat, that just makes your spend of tedium at the beginning of the video even more pointless. To add on to this point, the timing of you playing Goku's clip is really awkward. Normally when you commentate on another video, you usually play the clip in question before you make your point. In this case, however, you playing the Johnny Test segment of Goku's original countdown after your interjection, especially after playing Goku's entire video in the beginning, is just going to throw off everyone watching the video.
His number 9 spot, Super Noobs, doesn't have him giving any explanation at all. And there's not even one reason as of why he doesn't like Super Noobs, which is exactly why his number 9 spot is the worst part of this entire video.
Redundancy like this makes me want to play Ghosts and Goblins on the NES so I can get all salty and rage quit!
Also, now is the perfect time to address another issue with this video. In both the title and especially the description, Sean S. calls this video a one-shot, yet at this point, he has now made 2 points with several more on their way later on in the video. Sean, you do realize that the key word in one-shot is one? As in, if there's more than one shot in your video, then your video by definition is no longer a one-shot, as you're no longer interjecting only one time?
His number 8 spot, Mad, is pretty different. Instead of him just saying the show is awful like he did in number 9 and the majority of number 10, he decided to nitpick the show to death by saying it's bad because it's making fun of other cartoons, movies, or live-action shows.
It's basically just the kid-friendly version of Robot Chicken, and I don't like how they keep making fun of my favorite TV shows and movies. Luckily, it's canceled now. The only thing good about it was Spy vs. Spy. Yeah.
Sean Sampson says we'll play out entire video before commentary to avoid redundancy. Explains segment of video only to play out segment, therefore leading to redundancy. 10 out of 10. Gold star. You're winner. Someone please end my suffering. Now, that said, Goku, I'm not letting you out scot-free either, buddy. As in your Mad segment, you bring up how there is one part in Mad that you do find enjoyment in, that being the Spy vs. Spy segments. On the other hand, in your previous 2 segments, you clear as day say that everything about both Johnny Test and Super Noobs is awful. Why would a show that you could still find some enjoyment in be worse than 2 shows that you hate everything about? Like, maybe you find the bad parts of Mad to be worse than the previous 2 entries, but in that case, you should have said that in your original video.
Hey dude, has it ever occurred to you that maybe the reason why this show makes fun of other media is because it's supposed to be a parody?
Hey Sean! Guess what doesn't invalidate Goku's complaint? That's right, your argument! Look, just because Mad is supposed to be a parody, that doesn't mean Goku isn't allowed to not like it. Goku might just simply not like how the show goes about parodying other forms of media, or he may just not like the concept of mocking shows, movies, etc. to begin with, which is just his personal opinion. Yeah, Goku does take the show a little too seriously, as you do bring up later in this point, but just saying Mad is supposed to be a parody does not at all debunk Goku's complaints. Just like with Goku's Johnny Test segment, you're arbitrarily trying to outlaw what Goku Ketchum can and cannot complain about in his video. Like, what do you think you are, the judge of the Countdown Community Supreme Court? Do I have to send you to the deepest mystery dungeon for impersonating an authoritative figure?
And besides that, you mentioned Robot Chicken in this number 8 spot, which I gotta ask this question. What are your thoughts on Robot Chicken? Since you never said what your thoughts were on it, if you dislike the show because just like Mad it makes fun of other media, that would make sense, but if you like Robot Chicken, then you would be contradicting yourself because by your logic, you should dislike Robot Chicken just because it makes fun of other media just like Mad, even though it's a parody and you're taking it way too seriously.
Honestly, I really don't see the point of this question. Considering this segment isn't even on Robot Chicken to begin with, asking for his opinion on the show here, and then debunking a what-if scenario you made up is honestly kind of pointless. Adding on to this, considering Goku's tone during this segment, it's probably safe to say he's not a huge fan of Robot Chicken to begin with.
His number 7 spot, the modern episodes of The Amazing World of Gumball, is a spot that I have no idea to why he doesn't like the newer episodes. The only things he mentioned was that he thought the newer episodes were bad, which automatically doesn't mean that they're reasons. And the only episodes he actually mentions that he thinks are bad are the Downer, the Return, the Triangle, the Money, the Egg, and the Nemesis.
Ugh. I think after the episodes, the Downer, the Return, the Triangle, the Money, the Egg, and the Nemesis? Yeah, like after those episodes, the Downer, the Egg, the Return, the Triangle, the Money, and the Nemesis, I feel like the Amazing World of Gumball has just gone way downhill.
I'm sorry, but are you even paying attention anymore? He said that the episodes after the 6 that he brought up were the bad ones, implying he thinks those 6 episodes are good. Also, once again, you wait until after you make your interjection to play the problematic part of Goku's video. Yeah, for those of you unaware, this issue persists throughout Sean's entire video, and again, it makes the structuring come off as really awkward and confusing.
And when he mentions these episodes he does not like, he says he no longer likes the show, with no depth being put into the reasonings.
Yeah, The Amazing World of Gumball isn't a bad show gone good, it's a good show gone bad. Yeah. The Amazing World Gumball is bad now. Yeah.
I'm not saying you not liking New Gumball is a bad thing, but as a presenter, this is something that you cannot get away with, because doing this will confuse your audience.
How exactly is Goku not going into detail confusing? I mean, yeah, you're certainly not wrong calling him out for not elaborating on why he doesn't like modern Gumball, but I really don't see how his vagueness is confusing. Personally, I can understand what he's saying just fine. After a certain 6 episodes, he thinks that the show has gone way downhill. Now, could you have brought up that Goku isn't following his criteria by only putting a portion of a show instead of the entire show on the list? By all means, yes! Guess what you don't do, though?
And also, you can't judge an entire era of episodes in a show like this just because of 6 episodes.
Too bad that's not what he's judging the modern episodes on.
After the Nemesis, I did some research.
Ew, what is with these hideous pictures? Like, really, Sean? Could you not have screen capped those images instead of using what I'm guessing is your phone to take screenshots of that Wikipedia article? Judging from the first photo you took, it looks to me like you're using Windows, in which case, all you have to do is hit the Windows key and print screen at the same time. This should cause your screen to dim for a little bit, and then go back to normal to indicate that your screenshot has been taken. After that, go to your pictures folder, then screenshots, and your screenshot should be right there. Finally, put your image into whatever video editing software you're using, and then voila! Instant pretty! HD remaster, buy my DVDs, now in 1080p 60. Yeah, Larvesta in post speaking. To cover my bases, I should probably also tell you how to take screenshots on a Mac, if on the off chance you're using one. If you're using a Mac, all you have to do is press Command, Shift, and 4, and then drag the pointer so that it covers the area you want to take a screenshot of. The screenshot should then appear on your desktop. We good? We good. Now back to your regularly scheduled Blazing Roast.
There have been a total of 86 and soon 87 episodes released, and did you even give any of those episodes a chance at all, or no?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that he did. Else he either wouldn't have an opinion on the later episodes to begin with, and by consequence wouldn't put them on the list, or he'd be taking an exam without a pencil, which is a very bad idea both in countdowns and in duels. Rest easy, my beloved life points.
His number 6 spot Mighty Magiswords is literally just him saying that the animation with how it looks and the swords are ugly. Number 6. Mighty Magiswords. Ugh. Everything about this show is just ugly. Like the sword, the story, everything about it is just awful. I hate Mighty Magiswords. Yeah. Okay, dude, you don't have to like the animation if you want to, but first off, how is the animation ugly and bad? And second off, you can't judge an entire show just because of how the animation looks. The animation is just like the appearance of a person, and in this case, it's the appearance of the kind of media. And you right here are judging how the show is by how it looks in equivalent of judging a book by its cover. There might be more reasons to why he hates this show, but this is all he brings up about the show.
Again, you're not paying attention to Goku's video here. If you listen closely to Goku's countdown, he does bring up another reason he doesn't like the show aside from the animation, being that he doesn't like the story of the show. Yeah, Goku does word his complaint really awkwardly, but even with how he worded it, someone watching this video can still tell that Goku doesn't like the story of Mighty Magiswords.
And you do realize that the animation is not what makes an animated series or movie, right? That's like if I said that Ice Age Collision Course was a good movie just because of the animation there, because it's the best of the whole franchise. Even though, yes, the animation there was the best of the franchise, just like Walking with Dinosaurs, that is not enough to save the entire film, because Ice Age Collision Course is one of the worst animated films that I have ever seen. And when I get the chance to talk about it in the future, I'll really go more in depth with it, so I won't waste my time.
I'm sorry, but that comparison doesn't work very well, as there's a huge difference between saying something is bad because of the visuals and saying something is good because of the visuals. The former simply implies that the show in question is simply too uninteresting to grip an audience, but the latter implies a lack of interest in anything besides the flashy colors. My point is that the comparison you're making doesn't make much sense because it's using the same argument to an opposite extreme, losing sight of what Goku's point was about the visuals in Mighty Magiswords. Also, someone remind me to set an alarm for when your train wreck of a review goes up. If this video is any indication, that's gonna be quite the ride.
For me, the animation in Mighty Magiswords isn't the big problem. The bigger problem is that the show's editing and voices sound like the voice actors drank a bunch of coffee, or the voices were sped up in a video editor. I would know this because I actually did this in one of my reviews before when I sped up my voice so I wasn't slow anymore until my first birthday Q&A special. And this could have been a good point that you could have brought up, but no, you had to say that the animation is ugly, even though you didn't even explain this at all.
Yes, because saying that a personal problem that we have with the show would work is a point against it, even though our target may not even agree with that complaint to begin with, totally works as a valid critique for the show, am I right?
Ultimate Psycho Crusher!
His number 4 spot, the High Fructose Adventures of Annoying Orange, has very little substance. Just go to the part where I talk about your number 9, as I am not repeating myself, and this part is almost as bad as that part.
Okay, I guess on its own this point is alright, but for my issue, we're going to have to go back to a part I skipped.
His number 5 spot, Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs, the series, is easily the second worst part of this entire video. I don't mind him recapping his thoughts on the films, but what I do mind is him not even saying what he thinks about the show itself. All he said was, what were they thinking when they were making this show?
Now, in this part, you claim that the number 5 segment against Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is the second worst segment of his video because he just says that the movies were incredible, but the show was a train wreck. Here, you claim that his number 4 segment suffers from the exact same issues and is almost as bad as the number 9 segment, which, if you recall, you claimed was the worst segment in the entire video. By this logic, shouldn't the number 4 segment, where he doesn't say anything besides, "Ugh, everything about this show is horrible, I can't stand this show," be the second worst segment over the number 5 segment, where, while Goku Ketchum still doesn't explain why he doesn't like the show in question, he at least provides some substance by comparing it to the movies the show is based on?
Ultimate Psycho Crusher!
And his number 1, Teen Titans Go, I can literally repeat myself what I said in this list recap. He doesn't explain, he's beating a bandwagon, and he expects people to take his word for it when he needs to explain in order to have the audience know why he doesn't like these things.
Refer back to my complaint regarding the number 10 segment for why I don't agree with the bandwagon argument.
So, final thoughts to this video.
Wait, we're already at final thoughts now? Sean, there's still over 15 minutes left of your video! Are you seriously expecting me to believe that your final thoughts on this video are over 15 minutes long? That's more than every argument you've made up to this point combined!
Ultimate Psycho Crusher!
Which brings me into the second problem, the repetition in this video. Throughout the entire video, he says the same things over and over again.
Kind of like how you repeated basically everything you said over and over again in both your commentary and the first part of your final thoughts throughout this video. Like, all of it, you're not wrong here, as Goku's countdown is very repetitive, but still, Sean, do you like being a hippopotamus?
And he starts nearly every number on the list by saying, ugh, then going on to say that the show is bad, and literally nothing else. He doesn't put any detail into any of his spots for the list, so much so that to the point where my past self, like my top 15 worst Disney Channel shows, and my Good Luck Charlie rant past self, is more explained than this video. And the other big example, in which I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Cian Banham has more explanations put into his arguments than this guy's list.
Ultimate Psycho Crusher!
And also with the Cian Banham part, I will admit, this guy is a little better than Cian Banham because he at least doesn't value quantity over quality. His presentation has improved over time, and I'm not sure if he's willing to improve or if he's bad at reviewing content since he's only 5 reviews in right now, and he's only made 7 countdowns so far, and this does give this guy plenty of time to improve his reviews, while Cian Banham, on the other hand, has been at these problems for 4 years since 2014.
The rest of this long rant is explaining how Cian Banham suffers from the issues that Sean said Goku doesn't have. Honestly, Sean, this entire rant on this Cian Banham guy should have been removed completely. Considering your original argument is that Goku Ketchum is worse at explaining than Cian Banham, going into this massive rant on how Goku is still better than Banham overall is completely pointless. If you really wanted to get across that you thought Goku Ketchum's content is overall better than Cian Banham's, you could have shortened it to something like, heck, while I do think that Goku is overall better than my next big example, I think even Cian Banham does a better job at explaining than Goku did in this video, and leave it at that, instead of going into a tedious and dragged out 3-minute rant on some guy who wasn't even relevant to this degree chain until you brought him up. After that, I don't really have anything left to say. Sean makes a decent point against Goku's presentation and then repeats his issues with his list for a 3rd time in what might as well be his actual final thoughts. Finally, around the 24-minute mark, Sean gives an update on his future videos and projects that he has planned. Honestly, considering how long this video already is, this update could have, and IMO should have been its own separate video. With that out of the way, time for final thoughts. Holy crustacean, this entire video was a boring and disorganized mess. Look, I'm not gonna say that Goku's video was good by any means, considering how repetitive and vague he was throughout the entire video. That said, I could honestly go on and on and on about the many issues that plague your video. I'll start with how you try outlawing what Goku can and cannot complain about throughout the countdown with arbitrary nonsense, such as saying that he can't put Johnny Test and Teen Titans Go on the list simply because they're overdone topics. Or how he isn't allowed to criticize Mad purely because the show is supposed to be a parody. This is a very huge problem, as you're no longer judging Goku's countdown based on its own criteria and rules, but instead shoving your own personal bias and opinions into the mix, which does absolutely nothing to debunk Goku's distaste for the shows on the list. Another issue I have with this video is your presentation, and I don't just mean your avatar pictures that aren't rendered in the correct aspect ratio without at least a background to back it up, leading to a bad case of hashtag Black Borders Matter throughout the video. There's also the text in this video, which is not properly bordered, making it really irritating and difficult to see given that the text blends right into the background. Finally, we have the inconsistent quality of your screenshots, most notably with the screenshots you used against Goku's Modern Gumball segment. These images were clearly taken with a camera or mobile device pointed towards a computer, which makes them look really ugly and hard to read. To make matters worse, you show a screenshot that was clearly taken from an actual device instead of from a camera facing a computer screen shortly before your Xian Banham rant, showing that you are more than capable of taking screenshots directly from devices instead of from a camera facing a screen. Finally, the biggest issue that this video suffers from, the large amounts of dragged out filler that absolutely plagues this video. Throughout this video, Sean drags out most of his points for significantly longer than they really should be, and even goes off on completely irrelevant tangents a few times. Easily the worst offenders of this filler are playing out the entire video at the beginning, the rant on Xian Banham, and the update at the end of this video. Sean's commentary is about 28.5 minutes long, and if we cut out all the needless filler and nonsense, I doubt it would even be half that length. I don't have a problem with the commentary being that particular length on its own, but this most certainly was not the way to go about making it that long. My advice for you is to shorten your arguments so that they do not drag out for too long, and cut out anything not completely related to the video you're covering. That, and maybe start scripting and have people look over your scripts if you aren't already doing so. Goodness knows this video felt very unscripted. Now, I don't mean for any of this to come off as me attacking you, and I do see you being able to make something potentially really great, but as for this video, yeah, I think I've already made my thoughts on it very clear by now. I'm the Blazing Larvesta, and I just want to go to bed now.
Which brings me into the second problem, the repetition in this video. Throughout the entire video, he says the same things over and over again.